Hello, 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 hello. Girl, if you inbox me, I'll give you the info on this wig. I will give you, it is a synthetic wig. It has been awesome. I'm trying to test colors because I'm going to dye my natural hair platinum blonde. I've just been trying to test if this is the color that I'm going to rock. But I think it's been good on my skin, so I've been pretty happy. So, but if you want the wig, y'all know I'm never shy to share. So just inbox me and I'll give you the information and the name. You know, every wig has a name. But anyway, hello to YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. It is your girl, Genesis Dorsey, and I'm here at the office and I'm about to leave. So I figured this would be a good time before I handle some more stuff. And I want to talk to you guys about what's coming next. I put in the wrong link for Facebook and it says genesisdorsey.com .summer. It's genesisdorsey.com /summer. So I apologize for that. And on YouTube, on Facebook, I'm gonna put the correct link in the comment section. So guys, if you have never seen me, my face, you don't know who I am. I'm a stranger. I'm a strange can of paint to you. My name is Genesis Dorsey, and I am passionate about two things, and that is teaching people about business and ministry. And in that, I've had a lot of experience in being successful, which I am not afraid to talk about. I think that, you need to know what you're good at. And so I've had the awesome opportunity to launch some successful businesses, and one of them is a graphic and web design company that I've had since 2014. The name did change across time because when I first got started, I was just trying to have a little cute little business. And eventually it got to a place where, I started to deal with corporate clients, different types of entrepreneurs and, successful individuals. And so the name evolved and changed. And now we're Glam Print Go because our focus and our mission has changed. But during that time of ownership, I was able to really surpass a lot of people in my same industry. And especially when it came to the profit side of the business. And so I want to talk today about a boot camp that's happening. I'm doing boot camps every month for this summer, and we just sold out of the t-shirt boot camp. We have 46 students. Some are going to be added. Actually, additionally, I had some people come in my inbox who were pleading to join. So we're going to probably have around, I would say by the time we're getting done, maybe 49 to 50. But we're doing a t-shirt boot camp in July. But June is all about a huge passion of mine in my very first business that I ever owned, which was in graphic and web design. And it was the business that honestly it financed every other idea I've ever had. Most of my success, I could almost say all of it, started in graphic and web design. And when I launched that company, it really changed my perspective about, as a creative, how much money you can make. I was not used to making that much money at all. At all. I had never, ever imagined, you make all the thousands and thousands of dollars. But when I talked to a lot of other creatives, we weren't having the same conversations. We weren't eating the same kind of meals. We weren't going out the same kind of places. We weren't buying the same kind of bags. And of course, it's not about materialism, but I was trying to figure out why were they struggling so much. And when I talked to many creatives, a lot of times they were taught the creative portion, which is how to do website, how to do graphic design, but nobody taught them about the business of it. Okay. You want to do real boot camp? So with that, I have learned that for many people, they don't struggle with creating. They struggle with profiting. And that's the reason why I'm now focusing for this summer on teaching the business of things. Because again, a lot of people know how to create things. They know how to design. They know how to do websites. But as far as revenue, it's not hitting what I consider to be the basis. So let me share with you just some insight, because this is not a selling video. This is actually meant to help graphic and web designers walk away with some insights, as well as talk to you about the boot camp, because I believe the boot camp is going to be phenomenal. So the boot camp, first of all, it's a virtual online boot camp. It's online, it's 4 weeks, and it's very intense. And the whole goal is, again, to teach you the business, the money-making side of being a graphic or web designer. But in this video, I want to talk about 3 mistakes that many graphic and web designers make when it comes to having a successful, profitable company. Okay. And let's start with the first one. The first one is that most graphic and web designers, they operate in a freelancer mode. And there's nothing wrong with being a freelancer. However, most freelancers are not really making the money that they should. Some of them attribute this to saying, oh, well, the industry, is not paying enough. People are not willing to pay what I'm worth. That's not true whatsoever. There's so much money out here in the creative world, but many people miss it. And so they think that they operate from this small mindset. So being a graphic or web designer is, in my opinion, a minimum of a minimum, guys. If you do 10K every month, it's 120,000 gross. Okay. We have not talked about expense or anything like that, but you look at 120,000 per year if you do a 10K minimum per month. Okay. And people say, oh, that's a lot of money. It's not a lot of money in the design world. Not at all. The issue is that most people think small-minded. So you are operating from a cheap, no offense, but from a cheap mindset. And what this does for many creatives is it drains them. So we have a lot of creatives, for instance, who are charging extremely low prices, and they're having to have a ton of clients per month to sustain the business as well as to hit a certain marker. So for instance, let's say, you want to say you're a graphic or web designer, and you want to do 10K. Because 10K is my minimum for my clients. So 10K minimum. And let's say you charge $300 for a website. Okay, so let's just do some math real quick, because I think it's important that we talk about some of these things on why people are drained and they're not successful. So if you did, let's say, a $300 website, okay, and you want to make $10,000 a month, we're going to divide that by 30. Divide that. Well, I already know what the answer is going to be, but divide that by 300. You would have to have 33 clients a month just to hit that. Okay. Let's say you do logos, and let's say your logos are, let's say $75. Okay. And so then you have to have 133 clients to hit that. Let's say, okay, again, we're going to do this again. Let's say you do $1,000 per client. Then all you would need are 10 clients to service that. So for most people, though, then they struggle well, I get that. I kind of see that, but I just don't feel like I'm there yet. And that's another problem. So within this freelancer mindset, it's almost like I'll take whatever I can get. And that's the first way to build a broke business, is where you're taking whatever you can get. Okay. In the creative realm, you don't take whatever you can get. You establish your worth, your price point, your experience, all through what you present to people. Okay. And when you're building that kind of business, you also need to think long term. What many creatives are not building is a business that could sustain itself after you or past you. You're building a business that's built on you, that will break because of you. And if you don't design anything in the next 2 weeks, you're going to be broke. Right. And because, especially if you have to have a lot of clientele to reach a certain marker, you're definitely going to struggle, because if you're not servicing, let's say, 30 clients a month to hit a $10,000 to $20,000 mark, then guess what? If you can't work for 2 weeks, you're not going to be able to do anything. Right. So what we need to begin to do is think long term. First of all, creative teams, creatives should be building a business that will either become a firm, a company, a design team, but never, ever just you. Okay, because what's going to happen, number one, is that you're going to cap. Number two, you are going to be stressed out because you were trying to service all these clients. And so one of the things that we're going to be talking about in these boot camps are ways to clone yourself and duplicate yourself so that you can literally run different things. So one of the things that for me, I've learned over the time has been a huge benefit is to understand the art of working with other creatives and hiring them and using them for different projects. Now, some projects I'm the only designer. And usually for my ministry clients, that's what happens. I'm the only designer. If it's a bigger project, I'll bring on, other designers. But because sometimes clients, they really do want you, but you have to charge your price point so that when you do design for them, it's like that. But for the majority of other ones, you can hire, you can 1099. I mean, there's so many different ways. We're going to be talking about this in the boot camp on how to actually build something past you. And then the second thing we're going to talk about. So the first thing we said is that why do many creatives struggle? Number one, they build small. And when you build small, you build a company that is just built on you, and you're going to struggle. And I'm going to talk in the boot camp on how to transition and when it's time to transition, and on the amount of money that should be coming through to transition. And of course, not building small. The second thing of why many creatives are broke, are not hitting that six-figure minimum, is because number two is that they're looking at the wrong people. And I'm not talking about your clients. I'm talking about who you socialize with. Okay, creatives, if you are on social media or you're around people who charge way below their worth, that is going to influence you, whether you admit it or not, or whether you even know it or not. Who you surround yourself with will influence your income, period. If you hang around people who never charge their worth, always trying to barter, always trying to charge low, guess what's going to happen? You're going to always find yourself bartering, charging low. You may not say it to me. You don't have to admit it, but I promise you that you've probably done it and you've charged below your belt in some kind of way. You have to stop that. And so you need to be around people who are making the money in that field that you want to make, so that you don't go lower than where you should. I've shared this story many times, but I'll never forget when I first began to design websites. And remember, when you design someone's website, they're going to be using this for a very long time, especially if you design it well. And so when you make a website, number one, and we're going to talk about this too in the design bootcamp, is that number one, we don't design. Okay, designers don't design. We create experiences for our clientele that helps them to convert, to make more money, right? So when I teach, and I've done so many, private courses and consulting on this, but when we talk about making six figures in the graphic and web design world, the reason why it was easy for me to hit six figures in a very fast amount of time versus other people, hey, Crystal, how are you? Versus other people, was because I was focused on being around people who made money. I was not charging these low prices that these people charge and struggling. First of all, I have a lifestyle that I have to keep up. Okay. So listen, I like my designer bags, I like my certain things, and I don't have, likes like many people, but one of the things I love designer bags. I love certain perfume, and I love certain clothing. And so because of that, I look at my needs. I look at what I need to do goal wise, the investments I want to make into other companies or to grow my other businesses. So I need to make money. So when I began to start web design, I was copying off of social media, which is the biggest way to be broke, is to look at what people charge on social media, not understand the pricing structure or the business model, to just copy. So what happened was I said, you know what, I think I was charging like $300 or $500 for this website. Y'all, listen, I don't know what I was doing in my mind, but I thought I was popping. I thought I was popping, right? But really I was broke, okay? And really I was charging broke prices. So then I sat down and I went, you guys know the story, if you've heard it before, I went to a coffee shop, kind of cafe area, and there was a gentleman who was with a potential client, and he was sitting down and they were talking about a website being done. And so the guy asked me, what numbers are we kind of, starting with? And the guy says, well, base 5,000. Now I think it was like 500. So basically I was charging a tithe, 10% of what this man's base was. Okay. His client leaves. The client number one is he's ready. That's his client. He's signed that client on. So I started talking to the gentleman about what he did, and he was doing the same exact thing as me, offering the same exact thing as me. And here I was in shock because I thought that I had made it. I thought I was making a lot of money because I had never, and this is important, when you do not know the industry, you need to be in things like my boot camp so that you can really understand what is possible, because otherwise you'll be having conversations with people who may be in the same industry, but they are not successful. And I know this may be offensive to some people, but there are some people I will never listen to until they reach a certain level of success, because where they are is beneath where I'm trying to go. No offense, but that's just how I am, right? So if you're around people who are struggling like you, no offense to them, but they're not the ones you should probably ask about pricing, because if they aren't making it, you won't either, okay? So when I began to have this conversation with this gentleman, I began to really understand how much money was to be made in graphic and web. So to hit a 10K minimum per month in a graphic and web design business was easy when, if it's 5K base per client, you have 2 clients, that is automatically going to be gross, of course, before expenses, 10K, right? So, but people, when they hear these numbers, you're like in shock. You're like, this is a lot of money. Guys, it's not a lot of money whatsoever. If you think $5,000 is a lot of money, it is because, this is very important, it's because you're basing your pricing off of your current lifestyle. And if you want a different lifestyle, you have to charge a different price point. That's just plain and simple. So if I want to live ramen noodle lifestyle, I'm going to keep my $75 logos, $100 websites, $300 websites, right? But if I'm trying to have a steak and lobster lifestyle, I want to have a personal trainer lifestyle, I want to be able to go get my, my new bag lifestyle, I'm looking at the Chanel bag, okay? Okay. So, and it's a good investment, okay? So guess what? I can't have the lifestyle of charging these low prices. If you want money to invest, some of you want to get into real estate, you won't be able to get into real estate charging those low prices for graphic and web design. You're going to have almost 1,000 clients to invest in your first investment property. So let's just get serious. If you want to buy another, if you want to buy an apartment complex as your first investment property, you're going to need a certain amount of money. You won't get there charging the prices that you currently charge. So you have to level up. This is big. And so in the boot camp that we're going to be having in June, I'm not about hype and encouragement. We got to look at the numbers. We got to look at what you need to do. And again, this is why we're doing only 20 people in this boot camp. 2 people have already signed up. So they're kind of ahead of the curve because I didn't even start promotion yet. But this is about people who that you need to make more money in your graphic and web business, but you are still trying to play the freelancer, grabbing money here and there, trying to just close on whatever clients you can. That is the end of that road, okay? Because you need to get serious about the potential in your hands and in your mind. And what I learned in the graphic and web design world is that I was not just designing, okay? This is big. This is number 3. If you want to make more money, you got to have a greater purpose than just design. Okay. A lot of people, the reason why they struggle is that they just sell design. They sell, you need a flyer, you need this or that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand that these things, okay, they require new level. Now, Jim Jerry says buying expensive stuff, investment. You're right, but you can buy an expensive thing, like for instance, investment properties. They're expensive and they are investments. For some people, if you are a bag collector, they are investments. They're not as you would say, huge investments. But I know for me, if I'm going to buy an expensive bag, it needs to have a high resale value. Right? Because for me, it's something that I could resell back and get my money back for it. Right? So you're looking for, and this is important too, when you buy expensive merchandise or products, I look for things that have a high resale value. Okay. Because for me, then it becomes an investment. So like, for instance, when I get older and I get old and about to die and I pass my daughter down all my bags, she'll be able, if she wanted to, she could sell all that and then go change it into some real estate. But again, and this is important that I say this too, is that when you build a life of wealth, it includes your ability to have options. It includes the ability where I can have investment properties and I can rock my bags and I can drive my cars and I can, and I'm not here to be materialistic, but we have to be real that I want a life of options. I don't want to have it to where, I can only buy certain things. I want a life of complete options in every area of my life. That is love. That is investments. That is diversification of investments. All these different things. Government bonds is not enough. Okay, government bonds are not enough. Okay, and I can tell you that from the fact that my father, who was a wealth executive for several corporations, he taught me the art of money, and of course, being raised in a certain environment, that taught me how to diversify my income, and so have it is in real estate. One of the greatest areas. And I believe that bonds are important. Bonds, CDs, mutual funds, those are great areas. And you need to have, again, diversified investment. But we don't just place them in government bonds. We're going to place them in other areas. And again, you want to have net worth. And so if you place your money in just government bonds, this is important. This is why, these conversations are important, because when I talk about building a 6-figure, graphic or web design company, this is important because these kinds of businesses can help fund, okay, you building net worth. You just don't want to have a great credit score. You want to also have net worth. I know people who have 800 credit scores and have $5, $10 net worth, right? This is also about building a legacy, and legacy includes net worth. It includes ownership. Ownership is the most important thing that we need to have, especially for my minority leaders and shapers. We must have ownership, okay? And so this is why these types of, talks and these boot camps are important, because I'm not shaping people who have all this knowledge and are broke. Okay. It's time for us to have businesses that are profitable profitable, that profit is something where we can take that money and then go invest that money, grow it, and then launch. Either you want to launch other companies, you want to exit and sell those companies. So getting back, the last thing I wanted to end with, because I don't want to be on here long, is that the third thing for many graphic and web designers that keep them back is the fact that they only sell design. And so as I begin to take on corporate clients and larger clients that, were 10K and above, the biggest thing was that, honestly, even below 10K, is that you must become an expert of some kind within design, and so when you say you're a graphic and web designer, that's not enough to really hit certain figures. You have to become an expert of some kind in that field. So for instance, there are people who are experts at e-commerce, and they're experts at helping people in e-commerce, use design to convey a certain branding or immersive experience. There are people who are they design websites for hospitality groups in hotels. There are people who design for kitchens and restaurants. There are people who design for, other sectors, but these are things. Oh, I think it's Miss Sally. Is that someone at the window? Hey, but these are things that are important. So you want to make sure that you're not just selling design. You have to sell the conversion, right? And I think conversion is a great word to say it, but why do people buy or invest in design, or why do they invest in websites? Do you think people are like, oh, I just need a website? No. People want to make more money. People want to be exposed to more people. People want to have a presence and established platform. People may want to have a form of selling their content. So when we sell, we don't sell design, because design is the byproduct, right? And I teach on this a lot, but the main focus is, what does your design do? Okay, that's what we sell. So the next level step for people to really transform their design business is to step into a place of expertise. Okay. And that's where the money begins to flow like an abundant river. And this is something that, honestly, I'm telling you, past recession, man, it doesn't affect you. No offense. I mean, it really doesn't, because you're in an industry that you're always needed. People always need these factors. They always need them. Now, the last thing I want to discuss too, is that you don't have to be a graphic designer or web designer to own a graphic or web design business. Okay. This is really key. I have several friends who own companies, and they themselves are not experts at the company expertise. So I have friends who can't do hair who own hair salons. I have friends who don't write copy, but they have copywriter businesses. I know people who have an HR company, and they are not HR experts. Okay. They found an industry that they saw as something that was always needed, and they started that kind of company. And so I have people who are coming into the boot camp who aren't even graphic or web design experts, but they know graphic and web designers. And so what you also can become is what I call the plug. A plug-based business is something that I always promote. I always, especially if you're good at management. This only works for people who are great at management. They know how to work with people. They know how to lead teams, and they know how to lead a successful business, no matter what it is. And so this also is something that, if you're not a graphic web designer, but you know how to lead people, you can have a graphic and web design company that makes six figures. Okay. Make six figures, right? And the way that this works, honestly, is by being the plug. So what this kind of business looks like is basically where you run a graphic web design company, you gather clients. Now, this is the great part about being a plug. You must be an expert salesman, because you don't have the experience, right? But you have the business. So what you can begin to do is you gather the web designers, you gather the graphic designers, you want to do social media management, you gather the experts, and you hire them to fulfill those services. It's like, you don't have to be a house cleaning expert to have a house cleaning business. I know that's crazy, but it's the truth. You just have to be someone who knows how to manage the experts and knows how to guide them to success. So that's the other offering as well. So again, we have different people coming into the boot camp who have very diverse situations. And I want to say bye to YouTube because my laptop is about to die. But if you want information, you can definitely inbox me or email me, and I'll shoot you the information as well. But I want to